Tonight, you don't need to make any effort at all. There is nothing to solve, nothing to achieve. Just allow your mind to slow down as we gently walk together into one of the most remarkable chapters of human history. If you enjoy calm journeys into the past, and you'd like to continue exploring ancient civilizations in a peaceful and immersive way, you can quietly subscribe and offer your silent support. It helps this space continue to exist and allows us to travel to other forgotten worlds together. Now let the world around you grow a little more distant. Imagine the air becoming drier, warmer, the horizon widening into a vast expanse of gold. You are in ancient Egypt around 2500 BCE, at the height of the Great Pyramid constructions. The sun lowers slowly in the sky, spreading tones of copper and amber across the desert. The sand beneath your feet still carries the warmth of the day. Ahead of you rise the pyramids of Giza, built during the reigns of Khufu, Khafra and Menkaura. They do not appear suddenly. They seem to emerge from the earth itself, as if they have always belonged to this endless landscape. Even from a distance, you can sense the precision of their lines, the stability of their foundations, the mathematical balance that resists any simple explanation. The wind carries sounds that gently interrupt the desert's silence. Coordinated voices, the steady rhythm of tools striking stone, the controlled sliding of massive blocks being positioned with care. Hundreds of workers move in organized groups, supervised by officials who record deliveries and distribute tasks methodically. Nearby, boats arriving from the Nile carry fine limestone from Tura, stone that will one day reflect sunlight. So brilliantly it appears almost luminous. As you observe, you realize you are witnessing a civilization that understands planning, calculation, cooperation. Each stone placed is not merely part of a tomb. It is a quiet declaration of permanence. The Egypt before you is not myth wrapped in mystery. It is a structured society, fully aware of its ability to transform stone into eternity. Take a slow breath. Night is beginning to approach, and this journey has only just begun. The light continues to fade, and with it, the intensity of the desert heat softens. You begin walking slowly toward the workers' settlement near the Giza Plateau. The ground beneath your feet shifts from loose sand to packed earth, shaped by years of steady movement. Contrary to many modern myths, the people building these pyramids are not enslaved masses driven by cruelty. They are skilled laborers, farmers during the Nile's flood season, organized into rotating crews. They are fed, housed, and medically cared for. Small clusters of mud brick homes form an ordered village. Cooking fires release thin trails of smoke into the darkening sky. You can smell bread baking, coarse, dense loaves made from emmer wheat. Nearby, onions and garlic are being prepared, staples believed to strengthen the body. Large clay jars hold beer, thick and nutritious, safer to drink than river water. Workers sit together in groups, speaking quietly after a long day. Some laugh softly, others stretch tired arms and legs. This is not chaos. It is routine. You notice scribes seated with wooden boards, dipping reed brushes into black and red ink. They record rations, attendance, deliveries of stone. Order is maintained not only by authority, but by documentation. In the distance, the pyramids darken into silhouettes. Their edges remain sharp even as the sky deepens into indigo. There is purpose here. Structure, a sense of belonging to something larger than one lifetime. The Nile, though unseen from this vantage point, defines everything. Its flooding determines agricultural cycles, freeing thousands of men for construction when fields lie underwater. This entire civilization moves in rhythm with a river. And tonight, as stars begin to appear above the plateau, you sense how carefully coordinated this world truly is. Let your breathing slow with it. The night settles gently over Giza. Darkness fully arrives, but ancient Egypt does not fall silent. Oil lamps flicker inside homes, casting soft amber light against mud brick walls. The air cools rapidly now, and a faint breeze crosses the plateau. You turn your gaze upward. The night sky above Egypt in 2500 BCE is astonishingly clear. Without artificial light, the stars seem almost close enough to touch. The Milky Way stretches like a luminous river mirroring the Nile below. For the Egyptians, this sky is not distant decoration. It is sacred architecture. They believe that the pharaoh, upon death, joins the imperishable stars, particularly those that never set below the horizon. These circumpolar stars symbolize eternity. You notice how precisely the pyramids are aligned. Their sides correspond almost perfectly to the cardinal directions: north, south, east, west. This is not accidental. Astronomer priests study the sky carefully. By observing specific stars crossing the meridian, they establish true north with remarkable accuracy. Geometry and cosmology blend seamlessly. There is no division here between science and spirituality. To measure the heavens is to honor the divine. A priest stands at a distance, holding a simple sighting tool, perhaps a merket, aligning his observation with a star's position. The construction of stone below mirrors the perceived order above. The pyramid becomes more than a tomb. It becomes a bridge, a pathway between earth and sky. As you watch the stars slowly shift in silent motion, you feel the scale of time expanding beyond a single life, beyond even a single dynasty. The desert grows quieter now. Only wind and distant murmurs remain, and you drift further into this ancient world. Morning returns gradually to the Nile Valley, and the first light spreads across the river in tones of pale gold and soft rose. The air is cooler now, carrying the scent of damp earth from the fertile banks. As the sun rises, you begin to understand that everything in this civilization depends on the quiet reliability of this river. The Nile is not simply a source of water, it is the pulse that regulates time itself. Each year, its predictable flooding transforms the surrounding land. Dark silt settles over the fields, renewing the soil and allowing crops to grow in abundance. Wheat and barley stretch across the landscape during harvest season, forming the agricultural foundation that sustains the entire kingdom. Without this cycle, there would be no food surplus, no organized labor force, and no monumental construction rising from the desert plateau. Farmers move methodically through irrigation basins, guiding water through simple channels carved into the earth. Wooden plows, pulled by oxen, press into the soil with steady rhythm. The work is demanding but measured, shaped by knowledge passed down through generations. Overseers track seasonal changes carefully, aware that even a slight disruption in the flood could shift the balance of prosperity. In the distance, the pyramids remain visible, their geometric forms contrasting with the organic curves of the river. What you begin to notice is the interconnectedness of it all. Agriculture funds architecture. The river funds eternity. The daily labor of farmers becomes indirectly the reason stone blocks are lifted and aligned with celestial precision. As sunlight strengthens and the valley warms, Egypt awakens fully. Boats begin moving along the water, transporting grain, stone, and officials between settlements. Life flows in both directions, just like the river itself, steady, predictable, enduring. And as you stand beside the Nile, watching its surface shimmer, you sense that this civilization is built not only on ambition, but on rhythm. A rhythm so dependable that it allows an entire society to think beyond survival and toward permanence. As the day advances, you leave the riverbanks and return toward the plateau where the pyramids dominate the horizon. In the full light of morning, their scale becomes even more striking. What seemed monumental at dusk now feels almost incomprehensible. Thousands of limestone blocks, each weighing several tons, are positioned with astonishing precision. Yet there is no frantic energy here. The work unfolds in deliberate stages, guided by planning that began long before the first stone was laid. Ramps of packed earth extend from the ground upward along the pyramid sides, forming gradual inclines that allow teams of workers to haul blocks using sledges. The sand in front of each sledge is dampened to reduce friction, a small but crucial detail that reflects practical understanding rather than brute force. Coordination is constant. Signals are called out in steady rhythm so that dozens of men pull together, distributing weight evenly. Nearby, master craftsmen shape finer stones with copper tools and stone hammers. The outer casing blocks, cut from higher quality limestone, are smoothed carefully to create a surface that will one day reflect sunlight brilliantly. Geometry guides every movement. Angles are measured. Lines are checked and rechecked. The pyramid is not rising randomly. It is unfolding according to design. You begin to sense that the true achievement is not only physical strength, but administrative intelligence. Food must be delivered daily. Tools must be maintained. Injuries must be treated. Scribes document progress, while supervisors ensure balance between speed and accuracy. This is a coordinated national effort, sustained by logistics as much as by labor. Standing there, watching the slow upward growth of stone against blue sky, you understand that this structure is intended to outlive everyone present. The workers know it. The officials know it. Even the architects understand that their names may fade, while the geometry remains. The pyramid continues to rise layer by layer under the steady Egyptian sun. As midday approaches, heat begins to shimmer above the desert surface, softening the outlines of distant structures. Work slows slightly, not from exhaustion alone, but from wisdom. In this climate, endurance depends on pacing. Crews rotate, some resting in shaded areas, while others continue hauling and shaping stone. Large ceramic vessels of water are passed carefully from hand to hand, and short breaks are taken beneath temporary shelters constructed from linen and wood. You walk among the workers and notice the diversity within the labor force. There are seasoned stonecutters whose movements are efficient and economical, and younger men learning through repetition. Some hum low chants to maintain rhythm, others focus in silence, conserving energy. The atmosphere is serious, but not chaotic. This is disciplined effort, shaped by hierarchy, yet sustained by shared purpose. Not far from the construction site, a more refined area houses the architects and high officials overseeing the project. They consult papyrus scrolls covered in calculations, discussing gradients, measurements, and alignment. The mathematics involved is practical but sophisticated, relying on fractions and proportional systems that allow consistency across immense scale. Simple tools, plumb bobs, leveling instruments, measuring cords, become extensions of intellectual precision. The sun now stands high above, casting short shadows beneath each block. The brightness emphasizes the clarity of the pyramid's form. Its edges appear sharp, deliberate, unyielding. And yet, despite its mass, it is the coordination behind it that feels most powerful. Thousands of individual actions converge into a single geometric intention. In this moment, the desert does not feel empty. It feels organized, structured, directed by a civilization confident enough to reshape its own horizon. And gradually, as the afternoon deepens, the work continues. Steady, controlled, unwavering. As the afternoon light begins to soften, your attention shifts from the construction site to the figure for whom all of this effort ultimately exists, the pharaoh. Though he is not physically present on the plateau today, his authority is felt everywhere. His name is spoken with reverence, carved into stone, sealed into documents, invoked in formal greetings. In this society, the pharaoh is not merely a political leader. He is considered a living bridge between the divine and the earthly realm. You begin to understand that the pyramid is not only an architectural achievement, but a theological statement. The pharaoh is believed to be the earthly embodiment of Horus during life and to become one with Osiris in death. His continuity ensures cosmic balance, a principle the Egyptians call Ma'at, the harmony that holds chaos at bay. If the ruler remains aligned with divine order, the Nile will flood correctly, crops will grow, and stability will endure. Inside nearby administrative chambers, priests and officials prepare rituals designed to protect this sacred balance. Offerings are catalogued carefully: grain, incense, carved figurines, linen, precious oils. Every item has symbolic meaning. Nothing is random. Even the placement of objects within tomb chambers follows strict spiritual logic intended to guide the pharaoh safely into the afterlife. The more you observe, the clearer it becomes that the pyramid represents continuity rather than death. It is constructed not out of fear, but out of certainty. Certainty that existence continues beyond the visible world. The immense scale of the structure mirrors the magnitude of that belief. As the sun lowers gradually toward the western horizon, the pyramid casts a long shadow across the sand. The west, where the sun sets, is associated with the realm of the dead. This alignment is deliberate. Architecture and cosmology are inseparable here, and as golden light wraps around the stone, the monument feels less like a tomb and more like a declaration of eternal order. As evening approaches once more, you move toward the developing interior of the pyramid. Though much of the external structure dominates attention, it is within the hidden corridors that the most intricate planning unfolds. Narrow passageways slope upward and downward at calculated angles, leading to chambers designed with both symbolic and structural precision. Workers inside operate in dimmer conditions, illuminated by oil lamps that cast trembling shadows across unfinished stone walls. The air is cooler within these enclosed spaces, carrying a faint scent of limestone dust. You notice how carefully the inner blocks are fitted together, leaving minimal gaps. The engineering must support enormous weight above, distributing pressure in ways that prevent collapse. At the heart of the structure lies the burial chamber, still incomplete but already imposing in its simplicity. Massive granite beams, transported from quarries far to the south, rest overhead in relieving chambers designed to redirect gravitational force. This is not trial and error, it is calculated foresight. Nearby, artisans prepare the sarcophagus area with measured movements. They speak quietly, aware that this space is destined to house a king whose name will echo through generations. The chamber is positioned with astronomical awareness, aligned with specific stars believed to guide the soul's journey. Even in these early stages, the interior feels intentional and restrained. There is no excess ornamentation yet, only raw structure. But that structure carries meaning. Every corridor represents transition. Every chamber symbolizes transformation. Outside, the sky deepens into amber and violet once again. Within, stone absorbs the fading light. The pyramid is becoming not just a monument above ground, but a carefully sealed universe within it. And as darkness settles across Giza for the second time in your journey, you sense that you are witnessing the slow creation of eternity itself. Night settles fully over the plateau once again, and the temperature drops quickly beneath the open sky. The pyramids, which seemed radiant under the sun, now stand in deep silhouette against a field of stars. Small fires burn near the workers' settlement, and the sounds of the day have faded into low murmurs and distant footsteps. The world feels slower, quieter, more reflective. You sit at a distance where both the pyramid and the sky are visible, and gradually you begin to understand how inseparable they are in Egyptian thought. The stars are not distant lights, they are destinations. The circumpolar stars, which never sink below the horizon, are known as the imperishable ones. To join them is to escape decay. To rise among them is to exist beyond time. Priests trained in astronomy observe the heavens with patient focus. Their knowledge is practical and spiritual at once. By tracking celestial movements, they establish calendars, determine ritual timings, and guide architectural alignment. The rising of Sirius, for example, signals the coming flood of the Nile, linking the sky directly to survival on Earth. Nothing in this civilization operates in isolation. Agriculture, religion, mathematics, and kingship all respond to patterns written above. As you watch the stars slowly shift across the darkness, the pyramid feels less like a solitary structure and more like a terrestrial echo of celestial order. Its stable geometry contrasts with the subtle motion overhead. Yet both reflect a belief in predictable cycles. Stability does not mean stillness. It means continuity. The fires grow dimmer, conversations quiet. The desert wind moves softly across the sand, smoothing footprints from the day's labor. Above, the constellations continue their silent procession, unchanged by human effort below. And in this stillness, Egypt feels vast, patient, and deeply aligned with the rhythms of the universe. With the coming of another dawn, attention shifts toward the administrative heart of this immense undertaking. Beyond the visible labor of hauling stone lies an intricate system of governance that sustains the project. You walk toward a cluster of structured buildings where scribes, overseers, and officials begin their daily routines with disciplined focus. Papyrus scrolls are unrolled carefully across low tables, records are reviewed and updated, quantities of limestone delivered, worker rotations, grain distributions, tool inventories. Each detail is written in hieratic script with practiced precision. Errors are not tolerated easily because miscalculation at this scale could ripple outward into disruption. The pyramid demands not only strength, but organization. Messengers arrive carrying reports from other regions of the kingdom. Quarry output is assessed, river transport schedules are confirmed, storage facilities are inspected to prevent spoilage. The flow of resources resembles the flow of the Nile itself, directed, measured, continuous. Leadership here is not chaotic command, but structured coordination. You notice how authority moves downward in layers. High officials interpret royal directives, local supervisors implement them, and crew leaders translate instructions into action. This hierarchy creates efficiency without visible disorder. The workers on the plateau may never see the full network supporting them, yet they function within its stability. The scale of planning reveals something essential about Old Kingdom Egypt. Monumental architecture is possible only when a society achieves administrative maturity. The pyramid is a visible peak rising from an invisible foundation of paperwork, taxation, agriculture, and logistics. As the sun climbs higher once more, scribes continue writing, seals are pressed into clay, and decisions are carried outward through the kingdom. Stone rises because ink moves first. And once again, the quiet machinery of civilization turns steadily beneath the bright Egyptian sky. Evening settles over Giza with a familiar calm, and the desert begins to release the stored heat of the day. The sky transitions from warm copper to muted violet, and eventually to deep blue. One by one, stars reappear above the silent stone surfaces. You move away from the main construction area and toward the workers' village once more. Small oil lamps glow inside mud brick homes, casting gentle light that flickers against interior walls. Families gather in close circles, sharing simple meals and quiet conversation. The atmosphere feels intimate, grounded, human. A musician sits near a doorway plucking the strings of a simple harp-like instrument. The melody is soft, repetitive, almost hypnotic. Children grow sleepy beside their parents. Laughter rises briefly and fades. Somewhere nearby, incense burns slowly, releasing a faint, resinous scent into the cooling air. This side of Egypt rarely appears in monumental inscriptions. It is not carved into stone or aligned with stars. Yet it is just as essential. Behind every block raised onto the pyramid stands a network of ordinary evenings, like this one, moments of rest, connection, and recovery. Above the settlement, the pyramid stands in darkness, its massive silhouette blending into the night sky. It no longer dominates the senses as it does during daylight. Instead, it feels integrated into the landscape, part of the desert's natural outline. As the music slows and lamps are extinguished one by one, silence gradually deepens. The wind moves gently across the plateau, carrying fine grains of sand that settle into crevices and footprints alike. And beneath the steady movement of the stars, ancient Egypt breathes in a rhythm that is unhurried, continuous and profoundly still. By the time another morning arrives, the desert feels almost timeless, as though the previous days were simply variations of a single continuous rhythm. The sun rises again over the eastern horizon, illuminating the plateau with quiet consistency. Work resumes, but your attention begins to shift from individual actions to the broader passage of years. The pyramid does not rise in weeks or months. It rises across decades. Seasons pass. Floods come and recede. Workers grow older. Some who began at the foundation may never see the final casing stone set in place. The monument stretches beyond individual lifetimes, demanding patience not only from those who build it, but from the civilization that sustains it. You imagine the early planning stages long before the first block was moved. Surveyors measuring the bedrock, architects calculating slope angles, decisions made in royal courts that would shape an entire generation's labor. This is architecture conceived with long vision. It assumes continuity in leadership, stability in agriculture, and trust in cosmic order. Around you, the sounds of construction continue steadily, but they feel almost distant now, as if absorbed into a larger awareness of time. The pyramid is no longer just an object, it is a timeline expressed in stone. Each layer marks not only physical elevation, but accumulated seasons of effort. The desert wind moves softly across the plateau, and you sense how small a single day is within the broader arc of this project. Egypt does not rush. It builds with the expectation that tomorrow will resemble today, and that the river will return, as it always has. In that confidence there is calm. And in that calm, the pyramid continues its gradual ascent toward permanence. As years pass in your imagination, the structure grows closer to completion. The core has reached its intended height, and attention turns to refining its outer surface. Fine white limestone blocks are hoisted carefully into position, forming the smooth casing that will transform the pyramid into a radiant monument visible for miles. The process is meticulous. Each casing stone is polished and angled precisely so that sunlight reflects evenly across the surface. When newly completed, the pyramid would not appear rough and stepped as it does in modern times. It would gleam beneath the Egyptian sun, almost luminous against the desert sky. You stand at a distance and picture how it must have looked in its finished state. a geometric mountain of light, rising from golden sand. The brilliance would have been visible from boats traveling along the Nile, signaling both power and divine connection. The monument would not merely dominate the landscape, it would redefine it. Inside, final preparations continue as well. Corridors are sealed, chambers are inspected, protective rituals are performed to guard the pharaoh's journey into the afterlife. Priests recite sacred words meant to ensure safe passage beyond earthly existence. Every action is deliberate, layered with symbolic meaning. What becomes clear now is that completion does not signify an end. Instead, it marks a transition. The focus shifts from construction to preservation, from effort to eternity. The pyramid will stand exposed to sun, wind, and time, yet it is designed to resist them all. As the imagined years settle into stillness, you feel the monument reaching its intended state, not simply tall, but complete, balanced, aligned with earth below and stars above. And in that balance, Egypt expresses its deepest confidence in permanence. Now imagine the moment of completion, not as a celebration filled with noise, but as a quiet shift in energy across the plateau. The final casing stone has been placed. The structure stands in full geometric perfection, its sides smooth and luminous beneath the Egyptian sun. For the first time, nothing more needs to be lifted. Nothing more needs to be aligned. The Great Pyramid simply exists. From a distance, it appears almost unreal. The polished limestone surface reflects the sunlight so intensely that it seems to glow against the surrounding desert. Travelers moving along the Nile would have seen it shimmering on the horizon, a white peak rising from golden sand. It does not look like something built. It looks inevitable, as though it has always belonged there. The workers who spent decades shaping this monument step back into ordinary life. Some return to farming along the riverbanks. Others continue in royal service. The architects and overseers fade into history, their names less remembered than the king whose vision anchored the project. Yet every individual who touched a stone left a trace within the whole. The pyramid is not the achievement of one ruler alone. It is the accumulated effort of an organized civilization functioning in harmony, with seasonal cycles and centralized authority. Inside, the burial rituals unfold with solemn precision. Priests move through corridors illuminated by torchlight, chanting sacred texts meant to guide the pharaoh safely into the afterlife. The chambers are sealed. Massive granite blocks slide into place, closing passages designed to protect what lies within. Silence gradually replaces movement. Outside, the wind continues to move across the plateau. The monument stands untouched by emotion, untouched by doubt. It was built to endure beyond memory. Generations will pass beneath its shadow, and the pyramid will remain fixed, its edges aligned with the cardinal directions, its peak pointing toward the sky. In that stillness, you sense the deeper intention behind it all. This structure is not merely a tomb. It is a declaration that order can be imposed upon chaos, that human hands guided by belief can create something meant to resist time itself. The Great Pyramid does not speak, yet its presence communicates permanence, more clearly than any inscription ever could. Centuries begin to pass in your imagination. Dynasties rise and fall. New rulers establish their own monuments elsewhere. Political centers shift. Yet the Great Pyramid remains anchored to the bedrock of Giza, watching silently as history unfolds around it. Its once brilliant casing stones gradually dull under relentless sun and desert winds, but the core structure holds firm. You imagine foreign travelers arriving long after its construction, standing at its base with the same sense of awe. Even for later Egyptians, the pyramid becomes something ancient, a relic of a powerful past. It transforms from a royal project into a symbol of ancestral greatness. The monument begins to outlive the cultural moment that created it. Storms sweep across the plateau. Sand accumulates and drifts away. Occasional earthquakes tremble through the region. Still, the massive limestone blocks remain interlocked, distributing weight downward through an architectural system. Designed with extraordinary foresight, the internal chambers, though hidden, continue to protect their voids and passages. Over time, portions of the outer casing are removed, repurposed for other building projects in nearby cities. The once smooth surface becomes stepped and rugged, yet even in partial erosion, the pyramid retains its unmistakable form. Its geometry is so precise, so fundamental, that even in weathered condition it commands the horizon. What becomes striking now is not simply that it survived, but that it endured shifts in language, religion, and power. Belief systems change, empires emerge and collapse, technologies advance, and still, this structure from the Old Kingdom stands present in every new era. You feel the weight of that continuity. The pyramid becomes less about Khufu and more about humanity's enduring impulse to reach beyond the present moment. It represents a desire to leave something behind that will not vanish when individual lives end. Standing there in your imagination, you understand why it continues to fascinate the modern world. It is not just old, it is resilient. It bridges ancient intention and contemporary curiosity, holding both within the same silent form. And as the sun sets once more over the Giza plateau, the Great Pyramid remains exactly where it has always been, grounded in earth, reaching toward sky, patient beyond measure. Centuries turn into millennia. The world beyond the Nile transforms in ways the original builders could never have imagined. New empires rise across distant continents. Languages evolve. Religions spread. Entire civilizations are born and fade into memory. And through it all, the Great Pyramid remains fixed against the horizon of Giza, no longer newly built, no longer shining in polished brilliance, but enduring. By the time classical Greek travelers arrive in Egypt, the pyramid is already ancient. To them, it is a relic of a mysterious and distant past. Historians attempt to measure it, to calculate its proportions, to understand how it could have been constructed without iron tools or modern machinery. Speculation begins to grow around it. The monument slowly shifts from royal tomb to intellectual puzzle. As centuries pass, sand rises and falls around its base. The outer casing stones continue to disappear, stripped away by time and human reuse. Yet the core structure holds its form with stubborn clarity. Even weathered and incomplete, its geometry remains commanding. It does not require decoration to inspire awe. Its scale alone is enough. You imagine standing there in a later age, when explorers and scholars from distant lands approach it not as subjects of a pharaoh, but as observers driven by curiosity. They sketch its angles, they record its measurements, they debate its purpose. Some exaggerate its mysteries. Others attempt to ground it in practical explanation. The pyramid becomes both symbol and question mark. What is striking is how it refuses to lose relevance. The beliefs that gave it birth may have shifted, but the structure continues to provoke thought. It invites each era to interpret it anew. Ancient monument, engineering marvel, symbol of power, testament to human coordination. And through every reinterpretation, it remains silent, unchanged at its core. Now imagine the modern era. Cameras replace sketchbooks. Satellites map the plateau from space. Archaeologists scan its interior using technologies that would seem unimaginable to its builders. Yet even with advanced tools and detailed measurements, the Great Pyramid does not surrender all of its secrets easily. Researchers analyze its internal chambers, its weight distribution, its astronomical alignments. They study the quarry marks left behind by work crews. They examine nearby worker settlements that reveal organized labor rather than mythical forces. Slowly, layer by layer, a clearer picture emerges, one grounded not in fantasy, but in disciplined planning and collective effort. Standing before it today, visitors from around the world experience something difficult to articulate. It is not merely the size that impresses, though the scale is overwhelming. It is the awareness of continuity. The same stones once touched by ancient workers are still present beneath your hand. The same structure that dominated the skyline 4,000 years ago still commands it now. Cars move along nearby roads. Aircraft cross the sky overhead. Modern Cairo hums in the distance. And yet the pyramid remains anchored in a different tempo, almost indifferent to contemporary urgency. It belongs simultaneously to the ancient world and to the present. You sense that this is why it continues to captivate humanity. It stands as physical proof that large-scale cooperation, guided by shared belief and long-term vision, can create something that transcends its own era. It bridges myth and measurement, legend and logistics. The Great Pyramid does not need to explain itself. Its endurance is explanation enough. Night settles over the Giza plateau with a slow and almost deliberate calm. The heat of the day dissolves into cooler desert air, and the pyramid shifts from sunlit monument to dark silhouette against a field of stars. In this quiet, the structure feels closer to its original cosmic intention. Its edges no longer blaze with reflected light. Instead, they merge softly with the geometry of the sky. You imagine how the ancient builders must have seen this same night. Without modern light pollution, the stars would have burned intensely above the desert. Constellations would move across the heavens with predictable rhythm, reinforcing the Egyptian belief in cosmic order. The pyramid's precise alignment with the cardinal directions suddenly feels less technical and more symbolic. It stands not just on Earth, but in conversation with the sky. Modern visitors often come during the day, surrounded by movement and sound. But in stillness, the monument reveals another dimension. Its silence is not emptiness, it is continuity. The same wind that once moved across freshly placed limestone blocks now brushes against weathered stone. The same celestial patterns continue overhead, unchanged despite the passing of empires. In that darkness, the pyramid feels less like an artifact and more like a marker in time, a fixed reference point against the shifting narrative of humanity. It does not belong solely to the past. It exists in an ongoing present, absorbing each new era without surrendering its core identity. The desert night deepens. The structure remains unmoving, patient beneath the stars. When dawn returns once again, light spreads gradually across the plateau, outlining the pyramid's angles with soft precision. Another day begins, as it has thousands of times before. Yet each sunrise carries a subtle reminder. The monument has already witnessed more mornings than most civilizations endure. Standing before it in the present, you become aware of the scale of accumulated time. The hands that shaped these stones are long gone. The language spoken during its construction is no longer heard in daily life. The political system that organized its creation has dissolved into history, and still the pyramid stands. What gives it such power over the modern imagination is not mystery alone, nor simply size. It is endurance paired with intention. It was conceived with permanence in mind, designed to resist erosion, invasion, and neglect. Though altered, though stripped of its outer brilliance, its fundamental structure remains astonishingly intact. You begin to understand that the Great Pyramid represents more than ancient engineering. It embodies a human desire that transcends culture, the urge to create something lasting, to leave behind evidence of vision, coordination, and belief strong enough to shape stone on a monumental scale. As the sun climbs higher, casting defined shadows along its stepped surface, the pyramid continues its silent dialogue with time. It does not rush, it does not decay easily, it simply persists. And in that persistence lies its greatest legacy, not only as a relic of ancient Egypt, but as a reminder that human ambition, when aligned with patience and structure, can echo far beyond its own century. As the centuries continue to unfold, something subtle begins to happen. The Great Pyramid is no longer merely observed, it is studied. Debated, measured, scanned, documented, and reinterpreted. Scientists bring instruments capable of detecting internal voids. Engineers model its structural integrity. Historians revisit ancient records, comparing inscriptions, quarry marks, and labor evidence. Yet for every answer uncovered, a new layer of curiosity seems to surface. How was such precision achieved without modern technology? How did coordination occur on that scale? How did belief sustain motivation across decades? The monument becomes less about mystery in the supernatural sense and more about mystery in the human sense, the mystery of collective will. Standing there in the present era, surrounded by tourists holding smartphones and cameras, you sense the contrast. Modern life moves quickly. Attention spans are short. Projects are measured in quarters and years. The pyramid was measured in generations. It required long-term thinking in a way that feels almost foreign today. And perhaps that is why it still commands respect. It challenges the pace of the modern world. It quietly asks whether we are still capable of building for centuries instead of seasons. You begin to see the pyramid not just as stone, but as discipline made visible. Every block represents coordination. Every aligned edge represents planning. Every internal chamber represents intention. Nothing about it is accidental. The builders did not rush. They did not improvise recklessly. They followed a system, mathematical, logistical, and spiritual. The result is a structure that has survived wind erosion, political collapse, and shifting climates. It stands because it was designed to stand. In a way, the monument reflects a principle larger than architecture. Stability requires foundation, vision requires structure, endurance requires patience. These truths are embedded not in words, but in limestone and granite. The pyramid becomes a physical argument for long-term thinking. It suggests that when effort is aligned with clarity of purpose, the result can outlast the people who initiated it. As you step back mentally and view the Great Pyramid from a wider perspective, it begins to feel less like a relic of ancient Egypt and more like a milestone in human development. It marks a moment when organization, engineering, agriculture, astronomy, and belief converged into a single expression of ambition. It is easy to see only its scale. Harder, but more important, is recognizing the invisible systems that supported it. Food production to feed workers, transportation routes along the Nile, administrative oversight, skilled craftsmanship, social stability. The pyramid is the visible tip of a much larger societal structure. That realization shifts the focus. The monument is not just a symbol of power. It is evidence of coordination. It proves that complex collaboration existed thousands of years ago at a level many underestimate. In that sense, the pyramid is not primitive. It is sophisticated, not because it used advanced machines, but because it mobilized human organization at scale. Over time, myths attach themselves to the structure. Stories of hidden chambers, speculation about lost knowledge, theories that drift into imagination. Yet the true story may be even more powerful. Disciplined planning executed consistently over decades. The reality does not diminish the wonder. It deepens it, knowing that it was built by organized labor forces rather than supernatural intervention makes it more impressive, not less. It highlights what humans can accomplish when belief, structure, and leadership align. The pyramid does not need fantasy to be extraordinary. Its documented precision, astronomical alignment, and enduring stability are remarkable on their own. Its existence challenges assumptions about ancient capability, and perhaps that is its quiet lesson. Never underestimate the capacity of coordinated human effort. Now imagine standing at the base once more, this time not as a historian or tourist, but simply as a human being aware of time. You look up, tracing the ascending lines toward the apex. Each layer represents effort. Each stone represents intention. The scale humbles you, but it also inspires reflection. What are we building today that will still stand in 1,000 years? What structures, physical or social, are designed for permanence rather than immediacy? The pyramid becomes less about the past and more about the present question it poses. Its endurance reframes your sense of urgency. It reminds you that meaningful achievement often unfolds slowly, that durability is rarely dramatic, that foundations matter more than surface shine. The monument does not rush to impress, it simply stands. As the sun lowers once more over the Giza plateau, the Great Pyramid returns to silhouette. The sky shifts from gold to deep blue. The desert cools. The outline remains sharp against fading light. Thousands of years ago, hands placed the final stones with the belief that this structure would carry memory beyond a single lifetime. Today, it continues to fulfill that intention. It bridges ancient and modern worlds without moving an inch. Empires have fallen, borders have changed, languages have evolved, technologies have transformed civilization. Yet the pyramid endures, grounded in bedrock, aligned with the horizon, steady beneath the stars. It does not speak loudly. It does not demand attention. It simply persists, a testament to vision extended beyond the present moment. And perhaps that is why it still matters. Because in a world defined by speed and change, the Great Pyramid remains a quiet reminder that some ambitions are meant to outlive us.